For a long time, I thought learning faster meant working harder. Longer study sessions, more notes, more highlighting, more hours spent staring at information and hoping that something would eventually stick. And technically, I was learning, but it felt very inefficient. I'd forget things quickly, I'd read the same material over and over again, and I always had this feeling that I was putting in a lot of effort without getting proportional results. Eventually, I realized that problem wasn't intelligence or discipline. It was how I was actually learning. So in this video, I want to share how I'd approach learning anything from scratch today, whether that's a new subject, a new skill, or a new field. Using ideas from books like Make It Stick by Peter Brown, Deep Work by Cal Newport, Ultralearning by Scott Young, and Atomic Habits by James. This isn't about hacks, it's about understanding how learning actually works. So hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Elham Asiri, and on this channel we talk about productivity, learning and building systems that make progress feel sustainable rather than overwhelming. If you've ever felt like you're studying a lot but retaining very little, then this video is definitely free. Let's start with the biggest mistake first and why most people make it when learning. The first biggest mistake, in my opinion, most people confuse exposure with learning. So what does that actually mean? That means that they read notes, they highlight notebooks, they watch the same videos again and again, and it feels becoming familiar. But familiarity is not mastery. This leads to the first principle I'd build everything around, and that is called active recall. Active recall means testing yourself before you feel ready. Instead of rereading a chapter, you close the book and ask, what do I remember? Instead of watching another video, you explain the concept out loud in your own words. Research shows that people who test themselves remember far more than people who simply just review the material. Even if testing feels harder and more uncomfortable, the discomfort is the whole point. Struggle signals your brain this information actually matters. So therefore, you will learn and everything will stick more. The second thing that I would focus on is learning in small focused sessions, not long distracted ones. This is where Deep Work by Cal Newport completely changed how I think about studying. Cal Newport argues that the ability to focus deeply without is becoming increasingly rare and increasingly valuable, and learning is one of the first things to suffer when focus disappears. Why? Because you don't need 5 hours of studying. Instead, you'd rather do 30 minutes of undistracted attention, because we are all humans at the end of the day, and our span of attention isn't very long. So that means no phones, no tabs, no background noise, just one problem and one idea and one concept at a time. Depth beats duration every single time. Now, if I were to start again, I'd also radically simplify what I'm trying to learn. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to learn is trying to do everything at once, and it does not work like that. In Ultralearning, Scott Young explains that effective learners aggressively narrow their focus. They identify the core concepts that unlock the rest. Instead of asking, what do I need to know? They ask what matters the most. In almost every subject, a small number of ideas carry the most value. If you master those first, everything else becomes a lot to understand. Learning faster isn't about speed, it's more about leverage. Another principle I'd build around is teaching. Teaching is a very important learning tool, if anything, probably the most important. This idea comes from Richard and is often called the technique. If you can't explain something simply, then you just understand it. So instead of making notes, practice explaining ideas out loud as if I were teaching a beginner. No jargon, No copying definitions, just plain old language and what you can remember. The moment you struggle or you start stuttering or you forget, you know that you need to learn. That is the moment that you find out the gap in your understanding. The gap is where your learning happens. So find that gap and fill it in as soon as possible. I'd also completely rethink note taking. Most notes are written for the version, not the version that's going to forget. Instead of copying information, I'd write notes that answer these questions. For example, what problem does this solve? Why does this matter? Or how does this connect to what I already know? They're just storage. Another huge shift is spacing. In Make It Stick, the authors explain that spacing your learning over time leads to far better retention than cramming. Cramming feels effective, but the brain doesn't get the chance to forget, and forgetting is a part of learning. Spacing forces retrieval. Retrieval strengthens memory. Learning something once feels good, but learning it again and again and again after you've forgotten part of it will make it stick. This is where habits quietly come in Atomic Habits by James Clear, it explains that consistency beats intensity every time. If we're starting something, I wouldn't aim to study for hours. I'd aim to study daily, even if it's just a short amount of time. Even 10 minutes a day beats 2 hours once a week, as long as you're getting something in and learning in between those gaps. Learning compounds in the same way habits do. Small repeated efforts create exponential results over time. You do not need motivation at all. You need a system that makes learning unavoidable. Finally, I would change how I measure progress. Most people measure learning by how much they consume. So how many pages they've read, how many videos they've watched, how many hours they've studied. But consumption is a very terrible metric because it doesn't actually measure how much you know. A better question to ask yourself and a better metric to use would be something like, what can I explain without looking? What can I teach to someone I know? Progress is not input, it's mostly output. If you can recall, explain, apply, or teach this idea, then that means you're learning and you've got the grasp of it. If not, then you're just exposed to information that's not really necessary, or information that you already know and don't need. So, if I were to summarize how I'd learn anything faster today, it would look something like this. I'd focus on recall, not reading. I'd focus on depth, not duration. I'd focus on core ideas, not everything. Teaching, not highlighting. And consistency, not cramming. Learning isn't about working harder. It's more about working in a way that respects how the brain actually works. If you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate you giving a like. It helps more than you think. And if you want more videos about learning, productivity, and building systems that actually stick, then consider subscribing as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.